Glad the Orville's back.
Oh, that's what I'm talking about. Welcome to the galaxy.
I'm bored.
You still require incentive.
Galaxy Quest is way the fuck better than Orville.
You know, we could make up fake names. They wouldn't know. I could be Chad. You could be Maxine.
Let's do it.
No, I feel like they'd know.
Oh my god, dude.
Largely the presentation is still strong, being a strikingly accurate evocation of the next generation. Civilian clothing is still awful.
The Orville has a 26% critic score and a 93% audience score. Almost the exact opposite of what we have with Doctor Who.
Dude, the Orville came back, dude, and took you long enough. I've been watching Talking Orville while waiting for the Orville.
Egotastic Funtime.
And JP, mad prop.
Allow me to be your fluffer of Orville fandom.
You fucking got almost everything right.
And with 64% of the vote, you guys decided that Gelogia means that Bortus is going back to Moclus to urinate.
In Bortus' culture, his species.
Moclans urinate only once per year.
Gotta say, however, this season didn't get off to a brilliant start with Gelogia,
which has been described as a character-driven story, and that's essentially what it is.
Mercer spent so much of season 1 taking every opportunity to bring up Kelly's infidelity and rub her nose in it in an unprofessional way.
I cannot believe you slept with that guy. I really can't.
Here we go. Is me apologizing for the 900th time somehow gonna make a difference?
The character can be a bit beta at times.
I know what you're thinking, but don't you even put this on me.
When it comes to being a captain, he's large and in charge. When it comes to his relationship with Grayson, he's a bit emasculated.
Fortunately, the B and C plots were better. Alara and Gordon's attempts to get back into the dating scene didn't feature any of the toxicity of Ed and Kelly's relationship.
Lieutenant Malloy's story focuses on his romantic interest with a new female crew member. Lieutenant Lamar, who doesn't actually have his own specific story, helps to mentor him, giving him dating advice and putting him through a series of holographic simulations of nightclubs in order to help hone his social skills when it comes to meeting women. In the end, Malloy simply doesn't have the courage to ask her out, and by the end of the episode, there's a hint that she may be a new romantic interest for Ed.
The fact that the whole episode was very long and extended, I gotta stop and pee joke.
So this is obviously a piss take, pun intended, of the Vulcan Pon farr from Star Trek.
And Dr. Finn's parental clash being resolved with the help of Isaac is a nice piece of build-up to the season's best episode.
Dr. Claire Finn's story concerns her son and his friendship with one of his classmates who's an extremely bad influence on him. Isaac assists her in clearing her son's name when he's blamed for hacking the computer system to generate a bottle of vodka from the food synthesizer. The final plot thread is Alara's search for romance on the Orville, which effectively ends in more frustration.
But from there, season 2 builds on its great characters and continues to explore interesting sci-fi concepts.
And then what happened?
Bortus' gay porn obsession.
Episode 2 is called Primal Urges.
But like I said, not from a politically correct reason, just like,
He's just useless.
who puts a virus on the ship and a planet's about to be destroyed by a red giant.
The episode focuses on Bortus and his marital problems. He and his mate Clyden have been having some relationship issues lately, and Bortus has developed a porn addiction in the simulator.
Yeah, the story was cool.
Where's the gay porn?
Even though it felt very Deep Space 90s.
Soap opera in space.
You could tell the people who made the TNG series did not know people and didn't know how normal people talked. They thought everybody talked prim and proper.
They had the coolest, like, aliens, the coolest bad guys. The Defiant was a cool ship. Awesome interspecies war. They had fucking shapeshifters.
And then they interrupted with
Love stories.
it just made you kind of ashamed to be human.
Literally, that show made you space racing. And if you side with them, George,
Go fuck yourself.
Because they're just such bitches.
Oh my.
Then it was the Orville episode 3, a home with Alara, or as I call it, goodbye Alara.
And here we go. In Home, the crew places bets in what has become an over-the-top Friday night tradition, Alara and Isaac arm wrestling.
Alara breaks her arm in arm wrestling Isaac.
Dr. Finn discovers that by being away from her homeworld,
She's losing her superhuman strength, so she has to go back
to her parents' home on Saleya by Ed and Gordon.
Best looking planet in the Union.
her family are a bunch of libtards, and
Ed, wearing a gravity suit as protection, lets Ildis and Dranala know that Alara is an exceptional officer who has saved many lives, including his own. But being that Salayans don't respect military service, Ildis doesn't appear to be very impressed by the captain's praises of his daughter.
It's no wonder she's so hard on herself all the time.
God, I'd like to punch that guy in the face.
Bullshit, 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 bullshit.
During a family vacation to a beach house, they befriend some other vacationers, but in truth, they harbour an ulterior motive.
While the story is a simple hostage situation with a gravity gimmick thrown in, it's the excellent character development which makes this one shine. Performances were fantastic all across the board, and it was cool to see Robert Picardo and John Billingsley make an appearance.
They soon hold Alara's entire family captive in order to seek revenge on Alara's father, Ildis, who they blame for the death of their son, a promising young medical researcher who believed that the malaria vaccine was putting children at risk of Torrens syndrome. Ildis didn't intentionally try to ruin their son, he merely pointed out flaws in his scientific methodology. Long story short, Alara is forced to save her family, and she finally reconciles with her father. The Orville crew discover a treatment for Alara that would allow her to remain on board the ship and retain her full Zelean strength, but now that she has the chance to have the kind of relationship with her father that she always wanted, she decides to remain on Zelaya.
Goodbye, Alara. That's that episode.
Many of us were afraid that this was going to be a Tasha Yar situation where she gets killed off by some scary tar monster, and the only way we'll ever see her again is if there's a time travel episode that ultimately makes it so that Alara has a secret daughter that we didn't know about who has some sort of grudge against the Union. But they didn't do that at all! This turned out to be more of a Dr. Crusher situation. She's gone, but she's not lost.
This focus on character was similarly followed up with Nothing Left on Earth Excepting Fishes. Weird title. Krill was an episode which really suffered from the poor humour of Season 1, so I'm glad the follow-up story was able to play things straight.
And dude, JP, you called it again, man.
Such an amazing episode, and it really got us back to what was set up in the Season 2 premiere, with Ed being lonely and sad and offhandedly wishing he had a Krill invasion or something like that to distract him, to help him get through. And then all of a sudden, who shows up? She's right on time. Lieutenant Janelle Tyler.
Who Gordon has a thing for, then doesn't have the balls for it, and then she seduces the fucking captain.
Kelly notices that Ed's been in a much better mood lately, especially when Lieutenant Tyler is around. But not as good of a mood as Lieutenant Tharl is when allowed to keep it totally cash at work.
Righteous. Mellow alert.
And then, dude.
While out on a romantic excursion together, the couple detect a convoy of Krill marauders moving toward them and quickly go to cloak in the hopes of not being seen. Held captive, Ed is told to hand over his command codes to the Krill, or Janelle will be killed to death. Ed demands to see Janelle, and Talea tells him that Lieutenant Tyler no longer exists because
she's a Krill. She's that Krill chick.
Janelle Tyler was Talea in disguise the entire time!
And then you find out the Krill have a bigger enemy.
The Krill ship then finds itself the target of a hostile takeover by monkey remans, known as the Shoktal, with a score to settle with the Krill.
It was predictable as shit.
The Krill vessel is attacked by an enemy vessel, and Ed and Talea are forced to take an escape pod to a nearby planet. She takes him prisoner, and then they're forced to work together in order to send a distress call using a transmitter. As she can't be out and about in the sunlight for any length of time, she's forced to trust Ed to ensure that they're rescued. The story is somewhat reminiscent of the Star Trek The Next Generation episode The Enemy, in which Geordi is stranded on a planet with a Romulan, and also the Enterprise episode Dawn, where Trip is stranded on a planet with an alien. Yeah, the stranded on a planet with an enemy and you have to work together thing is not super original in sci-fi, but the unique twist on the story is that Ed and Talea have a romantic history, albeit a fake one. Ed believes that despite the cultural differences between the Krill and the Union, that peace can be brokered. Talea explains that her hyper-xenophobic and theocratic culture makes that impossible. But at a personal level, he also suspects that Talea actually does harbour genuine affections for him, and that during her time posing as his girlfriend, that she developed feelings for him. She denies this, of course, but it's clear that she's not being totally honest. They're both eventually rescued, and Ed, controversially, decides to release her back to the Krill rather than have her taken prisoner. He hopes that this act of compassion might just help to lead to a dialogue between the Krill and the Union, and possibly even peace someday.
Next episode was basically the Prime Directive episode.
Fortis, check Union records for any previous contact with that star system.
Negative, sir.
This is what we signed up for!
Where they made first contact with a new,
We welcome you.
I've noticed something off about this planet ever since we arrived.
Civilization that seems all cool, but you kind of notice that they're kind of wearing Nazi uniforms a little bit, but not really. Just kind of Nazi-like uniforms. You know, like, it's too good to be true, okay? And then, like, oh, they believe in this astrology, and astrology is like what their entire society is based off of. If you're born of that sign, then you put in concentration camps. And then Predapol just pointed out that if this is now, that means that Aquarians are sent to concentration camps. I'm all like, yep. The episode's okay. We actually get to meet the new security chief, you know, Alara's replacement. I don't like her. She reminds me of like the evil teacher character in the new Sabrina series. You know, that chick. In fact, she looks like a younger American version of that actress. Like, I'm expecting her to like wear like a Victorian dress, say,
well, couldn't very well keep calling myself the master. Now could I?
We're already past that.
I know your plan.
A happy refrain.
All I gotta say is if this was a Star Trek episode, I'd be pissed.
Excuse me, how does one prepare for a date?
But since it's not Star Trek, it's a parody of it, I'll accept this stupid love and relationship.
Bullshit. Bullshit. Bullshit.
It's a lot like the TNG episode In Theory, but this is probably the most original episode of the Orville yet, really.
I was merely attempting to provide Dr. Finn with the most dutifully calibrated coital experience.
Like Super Mario hopped up on mushrooms trying to save the princess.
Especially when like he tries to break up with her.
What are you doing?
I am awaiting my dinner.
Next episode was basically a whatever episode. It's Tala has a lady boner for this Moclus dude.
This has to be the most insane thing that's ever happened on this ship.
One time I almost died because I humped a statue.
Isaac once cut my leg off.
The captain and commander, they got put in a zoo.
And Bortus almost crashed the ship because of porn.
And we learn more about how intolerant the Moclans are because...
Booty call, dark and handsome.
And then what happened?
Now to the awesome episodes, dude.
Okay then. Let's see what's down there.
Holy fucking shit.
Our only chance of stopping them is to work together.
Yeah, it's kind of predictable that the Krill and
the Union
team up.
I mean, yeah, JP basically called all of it again.
Well, yes and no. It wasn't a joke.
But I thought they would join forces to fight the Choctaw from the Nothing Left on Earth Excepting Fishes episode, not the Kalon. I never predicted the Kalon would end up being a threat, especially not on this level.
Now they're the new Borg and Cylons.
Attention. Resistance is futile.
At least they didn't get rid of Isaac.
The crew have Yaphet revive him anyway, and Ed tells Admiral Halsey that he'd like Isaac to remain serving aboard the Orville, and that he's prepared to take full responsibility for it.
And what about how Yaphet, he totally dieharded it?
They once again send Yaphet through the vents to try and get a message out using the communication array, along with Ty as backup.
I'd save the whole day.
What the fuck? The space battle was pretty epic.
Gordon ended up being like a fighter pilot,
yes,
and gained respect of all of them.
Just a walk in the park, Kazansky.
Like, yeah, we're buddies now. It's almost like Martha. It was a Martha moment. Martha. It was a total Martha moment. Best two-parter ever.
Yeah, this one almost could have been a finale.
Of course it wasn't going to be able to live up to the epicness of all those space pew-pews and explosions, and the stakes were never going to be as high as Earth trying to defend itself from an invasion. But Blood of Patriots was great. It allowed the show to breathe a little bit.
Finally, Scott Grimes gets some really dramatic material to sink his teeth into.
The Union has to sign a treaty with the Krill, right? And meanwhile, fucking Gordon meets one of his old flight school buddies who has a mysterious daughter who doesn't talk and hates the Krill and wants to keep the war going.
Captain Mercer, our ship will return in 12 hours. You have that long to decide if this will be a battleground.
Good wins at the end, and we sign a treaty with the Krill.
Thematically powerful, and once again a big status quo change for the Orville's larger universe.
Very influenced by Star Trek VI: The Undiscovered Country.
From one warrior to another.
The next episode is also a Gordon-heavy episode.
Lasting Impressions is a hologram love story in a similar vein to Voyager's Fair Haven. Thankfully, however, Gordon Malloy does not jump into an insufferable Irish fantasy town, nor does he fall in love with a stubbled block of wood.
They're also very, very reminiscent of Black Mirror as well, but with somewhat a happy ending.
Sanctuary, however, is a shockingly high-quality follow-up to one of the weakest Season 1 episodes.
Then after that's a two-parter with, past Kelly shows up on the Orville, and it's kind of like a what-if scenario.
Who cheated on who? Well, I wouldn't say cheated.
Kind of a textured
exactly,
thing.
Because we later found out the Retepsian was in heat.
John and Isaac inform Captain Mercer that the gravitational wave is a natural phenomenon, and they don't know of a way to send Past Kelly back to her own time. Assuming she's stuck in the future for good, Past Kelly becomes part of the crew and makes new friends.
I think so. Man, this girl can really soak it up.
At Union Point, I used to drink all night and then report for duty the next morning.
What?
In the hopes of not letting present Kelly's mistakes become her own, and her first date with Ed still being fresh in her mind, Past Kelly asks Ed out on a second date. What?
Ed thinks he has a chance with her again, but he realizes he loves the modern day Kelly, not the past Kelly. And just a lot of funny little jokes in there. More of a sitcom episode.
Who reminds him that he's also 7 years older.
You've changed, just like me. And you may find it harder to get along with young me than you think.
Ed learns that Kelly was right about Kelly. I mean, present Kelly was right about past Kelly. Captains aren't trying to get with ravers.
Come dance, you guys! Yeah, it's so fun out there!
I think we're just gonna stay here and finish our drinks.
What?
We're just gonna finish our drinks.
The bathroom's that way!
Then she goes back to her own time, but doesn't get her memory erased. So the next episode was basically...
In The Road Not Taken, we find two masked figures scavenging for supplies at an abandoned Union listening post on Saren 4. With only enough time to grab a resynthesizer, both men must flee as a Kalon patrol arrive to take them out. It's Ed and Gordon who have been on the run ever since the Kalon destroyed Earth 9 months ago. They escape Saren 4 but are pursued by a sphere hiding in an asteroid field. But Gordon is able to turn the tables on them by flying through a cavernous ice moon.
Okay, go!
Well, instead of being Star Trek, it becomes Battlestar Galactica, where the Kalon, basically won, and all stems from, Ed and Kelly need to be together.
Because I was captain.
Yes.
I had to swim with my shirt on until I was 20.
Just listen.
And there you have it, Orville Season 2. Pretty awesome.